Uh-oh. It's recording.
All right.
Oh, is she on the phone? Hey, Lori, remember, you can go on the phone if you can't make it sometime. If you can't make it sometime, you can phone me.
I'd like to have everybody bring the meeting to order. Have everybody rise for a Pledge of Allegiance, led by Mr. McGee.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, please be seated. Roll call. Ms. Zimmer, call the roll.
Mr. Kuzic?
Present.
Mr. Dietz? Here. Mrs. Ferraro? Peg?
Wake her up.
Peg?
Okay.
Say yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Present.
Mr. Kraft?
Here.
Mr. McGee?
here.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Here.
Mr. Warner?
Here.
And Ms. Zirinsky?
Here.
All present. And Peg by phone.
Peg by phone. Next thing on the agenda is a motion to approve the minutes for December 14th.
Motion to approve by acclamation, Mr. President.
Second. Mr. Dietz. And call, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm used to the union rules. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the courtesy of the floor. I have one person signed up, Mr. Dale Sorbeck from Bethlehem, PA.
Wow, I didn't know it'd be so quick. That's great. My name's Dale Sorbeck. I'm here representing Lehigh Valley for All, which is a progressive organization. And I'm also representing Meals on Wheels in Northampton County. I'd like to start off by telling you about Lehigh Valley for All, what we did in the campaign. We knocked at over 3,500 doors. We made 4,500 calls, and we manned several polling locations. And we also worked on Jenny McNeil's campaign, where we knocked on 500 doors. Amy Zanelli was included in the numbers that I gave you, and they were all elected. We have around 2,000 contacts in our email list, and every time we hold an event, we pick up more members. So we had about 225 active members that participated in this election, doing the door-to-door and the telephone. And Dave Harrington's our president. Wanted me to extend congratulations to you, to all of you. And so that's it on the Lehigh Valley for All. Now I'm here representing also Meals on Wheels of Northampton County, and our executive director, Joanne Nenow, wanted to again extend her congratulations. She talked to me about something today I hadn't heard about before, but it's called the Community Development Block Grants, and which the Prayer Council was very generous in giving us funds, where we were able to buy a large freezer, and also it enabled us to buy local fresh food from Northampton County farmers. That was a great program. We currently produce 500,000 meals a year, and by 2020, we figure we're going to be up to around 700,000 meals a year. Now, Meals on Wheels, I'm a volunteer. I drive every day. It's more than just meals. We're also checking on our seniors in the county. I have found, in my 6 years, I have found 4 women on the floor. 2 of them fell on a Friday and laid the whole weekend on the floor. I found a man deceased one time, a woman that was not responsive, a couple people that ended up in the hospital. Also, we're instructed what to look for when we go into a client's home, and we've reported several cases of abuse that we turned over to the county. I'd like to extend an invitation to you. We have a March for Meals on Friday, March 23rd, where a lot of local officials come. We've had mayors from towns, the Bethlehem Police Department, the Just Born owners. And what you do there is you'll go out with a volunteer, and you'll see what we do and how we deliver the meals and the clients that we deliver to. You'll be getting an email from Meals or a letter from Meals on Wheels. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
I don't have anybody else signed in. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to address council tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll go right into the next part of the agenda is the county executive's report. Mr. McClure?
Good evening, Mr. President, esteemed members of the governing body of Northampton County. It's a very strange aspect for me after spending nearly a decade where Ms. Vargo Hefner sits now. I'm going to give you a brief report tonight. I want to let you know that I made several nominations today, which I will be sending to you early next week with resumes for your consideration for confirmation to my cabinet. I want to talk briefly tonight about what I didn't do today and what I did yesterday and some of my thoughts on my correction plan going forward. As you know, we haven't had a warden in almost 2 years. It's my vision that our prison should be run by a corrections professional who is in the career service, in our county government, a warden. So what I have done, we were very fortunate to have an offer from Mr. Todd Buskirk, who spent, I believe, 33 years in Northampton County Corrections, including time as warden, to come back on a part-time. He's retired. He retired 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, to come back on a part-time temporary basis. And under Rule 11 of the Career Service Regulations, I created a temporary 6-month position for Mr. Buskirk. He can't work more than 19 3/4 hours a week, and he won't. But what he will do is give us solid 3 decades worth of corrections experience while we go and find the warden that I want to find. And I believe that we will have a warden in place by May 1st. So it's an aggressive timetable, but we're going to do that. Also, I am not at this juncture going to send a nomination to you for Director of Corrections because I have a little different point of view than the previous administration. My view of and I will eventually send you a nomination for Director of Corrections, but my view of the cabinet level post is that person, whoever it is, will help me, advise me on corrections policy. Because what are our challenges over there from a overall philosophical point of view? Our challenges are aftercare for the drug treatment program, right? We don't do that well. We need to start doing that better. Our challenge to corrections is going to have to be a piece of our opioid crisis task force. They have to be involved in it because it's in the prison where they're getting and will get our treatment. So recidivism, tackling recidivism, all the big item issues that aren't necessarily the day-to-day getting prisoners transferred from one prison to another, getting them into the courtrooms, which I envision the professional warden doing. So I'll have that person, I'll find that person, and I'll bring them to you when I think that it's time to do so. But so that's my corrections plan, and I wanted to let you know about that right up front because I didn't announce anything about that today. Also, I have not announced any nominees for court services. As you know, I practiced law in this county for nearly 2 decades, so I have some familiarity with the different departments. And for the time being, until I find the right candidate for the court services position, I will be filling that role myself. So we have that to think about in the future, but I'm not bringing that to you in the near term. But I will fill it because I think it's important. In the past, not recently, but in the past we've had serious issues with those offices, and a aggressive court services director who understands and cares about the job will be vital going forward, but we're not going to do that right now. Also, I wanted to let you know that, and I sent notification to you today, I have hired several deputies, and I have hired several assistant solicitors. So your government is here, it's working. I am here every day, I am working. And I wanted to tell you who the deputies are that I hired. As my Deputy Director of Administration, I hired Becky Bartlett. She's actually here with us, braved the snow tonight. She's actually here with us. Some of you may know her. As my Deputy Director of Public Works, I hired someone I think you all know, Scott Parsons. I hired Mr. Parsons for several reasons, but I think the primary reason I hired Mr. Parsons was he will be proactive in all the various phases of public works that we will need covered. My nominee, just parenthetically, for Public Works is the Director of Public Works is a civil engineer. By training, he has a master's in civil engineering. And we need that as well, but we also need Mr. Parsons' experience hard-earned through his entire life, but also during his terms here on County Council. So that's why I hired him there. I'm going to hire Deputy Director of Human Resources at Graysdale. I actually think that position should be filled, and that person's going to be Mary Lou Caboli. I've hired a Deputy Director for Human Resources, Kathleen McNeil, a Deputy Public Defender, Janet Jackson. These people are all in place, so your government is working, once we get our nominees for the cabinet positions in front of you and get those approved, you'll have a full government, and I hope that's in 2 weeks, which I think will be a record. We have First Deputy County Solicitor Michael Corriere, who's here with us tonight. Mr. Corriere, Mr. Cusick, and I all have something in common. We've all represented District 3 on County Council. Of course, Mr. Corriere has been Chief Public Defender. He's solicitor for several municipal bodies. So you have a lot of experience there in Mr. Corriere. I've reappointed Mr. Dave Sorrell, who was an Assistant County Solicitor in the Brown administration. We've kept him on. I've stolen from the Controller the Assistant County and named him Assistant County Solicitor, Mr. Tim Brennan. He's proven himself time and time again throughout his service in the Controller's office that he's an excellent attorney, and I didn't think twice about stealing him from the Controller. And then I've appointed Joshua Schulman, Assistant County Solicitor. Many of you may not know him. You will get to know him. And Assistant County Solicitor, I will be appointing, I haven't done so yet, but I will be, Phil Auer, an attorney many of you know. So Phil's come across the aisle, and he'll be working for me. And Assistant County Solicitor Brian Taylor. That concludes my report. I hope I didn't take too much time, Mr. President.
Anybody have any questions for the county executive? Or?
Yeah, I do. I missed one name. Who did you say after Mary Lou Caboli?
Kathleen McNeil.
Thank you.
There you go, another.
I just wanted to make a comment, Mr. McClure. I want to applaud you for doing these rapidly, and having sat through the previous 2 administrations and having watched them stumble to get these appointments going, I think you're off to a good start. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Cusick. I appreciate that.
I have a question. I wanted to be first officially to ask you a question, but I missed Ms. Hefner's fast. When you put together your corrections plan and when you decide, I guess, 5 months' time, whatever, and you mentioned opioid, you mentioned treatment, are you going to be, at that time, giving us a presentation in some way about your plan going forward? I know we've talked a lot about treatment and close consultation with the judges going forward with the idea of the prison, and we all know about the issues over the many, many years, but a comprehensive plan in consultation with the judges on what we can do first-time offenders, treatment plans for addiction, and so on and so forth. Will that be part of it with the new
You
person?
can't do anything without the courts, and of course, in terms of this crisis. And of course, we'll be coming to you with our plan as we are required to do so. And also, I think that through your human services committees and whatever other committees of jurisdiction you want to assign the issue to, I think we can have hearings that frame what council thinks we should be doing as well, because we don't have all the answers.
Okay. Thank you.
Dale?
One other question. You did not mention the sheriff. Could you give us an update on where we are with that appointment?
I apologize. I got so excited about the correction. Yes, I have not appointed a sheriff. We are going to follow the procedure as laid out in the administrative code. I'm not, just philosophically, I'm not crazy about it. I think that might be a violation of the separation of powers, but I'm not willing to have a lawsuit over it. So I'm going to follow the. When you practice, when you've practiced law as long as I have and been in court as much as I have, you tend to try and avoid it if you can. In all seriousness, we're going to go through we're going to advertise as per the code. We're going to get resumes. I believe I learned today, have to be sent to the county solicitor and then brought to us, and then we pick 3 names, send it over to the court. The court sends back their thoughts, and then ultimately I decide. And that's what we're going to do. And we're going to, and I've insured the sheriff's department that it's going to be an open process. I have no prejudgment here.
Anything else for the county executive? All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next part of the agenda is old business. Public hearing of an ordinance providing for the Monocacy Creek Watershed Act 167 Stormwater Management Plan, water quality update. The ordinance was introduced by myself and Mr. Phillips at the December 14th meeting. Public hearing, debate, and possible vote will be held at this meeting. Ask anybody from the audience wants to address this particular hearing, ordinance? Seeing none, we do have Mr. Jeffrey Reese is here from LVPC. If there's any questions from County Council, does anybody from County Council have questions? Right? Call the vote.
I have one.
You have one?
The ordinance that I have in front of, is it an ordinance or
Yeah, that's going to be,
is it going to change? Okay,
yeah, that was because it was introduced that way, so.
it has to be. Thank you.
All right, call for the vote.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Wake up.
I have trouble with this mute, yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. Kraft?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Mr. Warner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
And Mr. Dees?
Yes.
Passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. We're moving right along here. Is any other old business to discuss? Any other old business? None? Seeing none? Any new business? Any new business to discuss today? It's January meeting. Okay, council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports from last year? Any council liaison reports? Council clerk? Council solicitor? No. Sure? All right, I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Bye, Peg.
Go back to sleep, Peg.
Good seeing you.
Oh, that was short and sweet.